Hello, my name is Debbie Reynolds. They call me the Data Diva. Today I want to talk about the Irish DPA's GDPR fine for TikTok. So TikTok in 2023 was fined $290 plus million for running afoul of handling data of children in inappropriate ways. So for this particular case, there are quite a few things that they have mentioned, but there are two particular things that TikTok had done that raised the issue with regulators. One is that for children 13 to 17, when they went on to TikTok, their profiles were automatically public. Which actually they should have been private by default as opposed to public. The regulators thought that raised the risk of children being, manipulated or exploited online by people who are older, maybe adults. Also, another thing is that TikTok has a thing around family sharing. So the way that it's supposed to work is, for example, a parent and a child may have a TikTok account, and the parent is able to talk with the child, share information with the child. The problem that the regulator had with this particular feature with TikTok is that it was not evident that they had built this capability in a way that they knew that someone was a parent or guardian of a child. So as a result, there were adults who could possibly groom and target children and actually have conversations with children. I think even though this particular fine has been advertised or talked about a lot in the media, I think one thing about this particular area that people don't really realize is that jurisdictions around the world are really cracking down on companies, especially media companies, digital companies that are using data of children. They want to make sure that companies aren't, for example, using the same type of marketing mechanisms that may be appropriate for an adult for children. They want to make sure that children aren't chatting with maybe even one another or other people who are underage. And they want to make sure that companies are being held accountable for that. So I think in the very near future, we're seeing a lot of laws come into play around children's privacy, especially children between 13 and 18, for companies who haven't been accustomed to building systems where children appear. They really need to take a close look at this. Part of that for me, when I'm talking with companies that do this, part of it is around chatting, around the type of marketing that kids have, who they have access to, making sure you have verifiable consent from parents, making sure that you have age verification, and that's like a whole other thing that I could talk about as well. So age verification before, a lot of regulators were cutting into companies around this was around, let's say someone went onto a website and they said, yeah, I'm over 13. They check the box and then away they go. What regulators are saying now to companies, that's not appropriate. That's not right. That's not verifiable, right? So these regulators are not necessarily trying to dictate how companies get this age verification, but they are looking at companies to do more than just a checkbox exercise around age. So we're seeing companies like Meta with Instagram try to do age verification through like selfies, where they record themselves on camera and the camera tries to estimate what their age is and for their content. We see companies like YouTube trying to make sure that children are not in spaces with adults, so that they're changing the way that their advertising definitely works. But I think that as we move to a situation where companies can no longer check the box or have people check the box if someone's under 13. There's going to be a lot more scrutiny around how companies handle data of children between the age of 13 and 18 in the very near future. And I think that will definitely change the face of advertising the way that we know it, because the way that companies have built advertising funnels and the way that they do those things now aren't really built for children. That's it. Thank you.